everyone, and in this video we will build tabs using React.js and Tailwind CSS. So let's get started. I will open my terminal and write npm create Vite at latest, and I write dot in the end so that everything will be installed exactly inside this folder. Let's say that we want to proceed, so I will write y and press enter. Here let's choose React, then JavaScript, and now we need to write npm install. Okay, to be able to use Tailwind CSS, let's visit the official website of Tailwind CSS. Here let's click get started, and then since we use Vite, we're in the right place. So let's copy this command and paste it in our terminal. Now let's copy this, and we need to make some changes in our vite.config.js file. So here it is. Let's put it here, and inside plugins array, right next to React, we need to write Tailwind CSS. So by doing this, we can use Tailwind CSS. So let's save it. Okay, now let's copy this, and we can put it inside index.css, but before I will delete everything here. Okay. Now we can write npm run dev. So here it is. I will split my screen so that you will be able to see everything better. Okay, now we can delete some files that we don't need. For example, let's delete this app.css, and inside app.j6 we can also delete all these things. So let's do it. Here I will just say React tabs tutorial, and I want to copy it. So let's save it. Okay, as you can see, React tabs tutorial is in the center, but it shouldn't be like that. So let's refresh the page, and as you can see, it is right here. Okay, so the reason why I copied this text is because inside index.html, I want to change this title to what I copied. So let's save it. And here, as you can see, we have React tabs tutorial. So now we can start. So let's say that we want to use divs. And to this div, I want to say that min height will be screen, so it will take the whole screen. Background color will be gray 900, so let's save it. Okay, and let's say that padding will be 8, but at the same time, to be able to see the text, I will say that text will be white for now. Okay, so now let's wrap it in h1 tag and apply some styles to it. Let's say that text will be 3XL. Okay. Font will be bold. Okay. And let's say that text color will be indigo 400. Okay, it looks cool. Now we need some data to work with, so I will paste some data and you will see it. So as you can see, here I have this tabs array, and inside the tabs, each object has its own label, then content object, and content object has title and description properties. I have 5 objects like this. Okay. So let's save it. Now to control the layout better, what I suggest is to create a new component called tabs. So let's do it. So inside this source folder, we can create a folder called components. And here we can create our component. Okay. Now I'll write this command and press enter. As you can see, it was a shortcut, and now I have this. If you don't know how to do it, make sure that you have an extension called, make sure that you have this ES7 Plus extension. So as you can see, ES7 Plus React Redux snippets. So by using this extension, you will also be able to use those kind of shortcuts. Okay, so let's get back to the tutorial. Now from app.jsx, we want to, but actually I will make the screen to be bigger for VS Code, so I will do it now. Okay, so we want our tabs to be passed to tabs component, but first of all, let's import our tabs component and let's pass our tabs array to this component. So let's save it. And inside tabs, let's get access to them. Okay, now inside this div, we can take our tabs and say dot map, and let's say tab and index. So in this case, this tab represents this object. Okay, and index is just an index. For example, this first object has an index of 0, this one has 1, this one has 2, and so on. Okay, now let's create a button. And inside this button, let's show tab.label. As you remember, each of our objects has a label. So I will save it. And as you can see, here we have our labels. And under these tabs, we can create a div. And here, let's say tabs. And let's say that we want to show the content of the first object. So that's why I write 0. And then I want to say dot content. And let's say title. So as you can see, now we have the title of the first object. So here it is, user profile. But when we click, for example, this dashboard or notification, we want to see the title of that particular object. And now what I suggest, instead of manually typing numbers, we can create a state which will control the current number. Okay, so let's create a state. I will say const active tab set active tab. So let's say useState, and by default it will be 0. So now we can take this active tab and replace it here. So let's save it, nothing has changed. Let's say that it will be 1, and now the text here will change. So as you can see, we have analytics dashboard. So now when we click, we should change this active tab to this index. So let's do it. So when we click a button, we want to say the following. We want to say set active tab to be equal to this index. And as you remember, as I said, here each label is inside of an object, and each object has its own index. So when we click this label, we will take that object's index and we will set it to be equal to this active tab. Then, for example, let's say that it will be 3. Then it will be like this. It will be tabs 3.content.tile. It means that we will see the content of the object. Why? Because we clicked that label which is inside of that object, which content we want to see. Okay, so let's save it. Now I will click security and we have the right text. I will click integrations. Okay, so now let's add some margin bottom for this text. Let's say that it will be 6. Let's say margin bottom will be 6. Okay, and to this div, let's say that margin top will be 1, so we will also add some space. Okay, now what I want to do is to take these two and I want to wrap it in one div. Okay, and to this div, let's say that max width will be 2XL, meaning that it will be 672 pixels. So let's save it. And let's say that margin left and margin right will be auto. So let's save it. And why did we do that? We used that to center our div horizontally. You didn't see it because our screen is already small, but if I make it to be bigger, you will understand it better. So let's do it. So now it is like this. But if I remove this margin, see what will happen. as you can see, it is in the left. So I want it to be back, and now it is in the center. Okay, and one more important thing that we shouldn't forget is that each button should have a unique key. Since index is unique, we can say that key will be equal to this index. So let's save it. Okay, well, actually, I shouldn't wrap this div inside this div as well. So I will do the following. I will take it here and I will do this. Okay, so now inside this div, we only have these tabs. Okay, and this div is a separate div. So by doing this, by wrapping these tabs inside this div, we can control the layout of our buttons. So I will do the following. I will say class name and I will say flex. And let's add some border bottom. By default, it will be 1 pixel. So let's save it. So as you can see, it is white. So let's change its color to be gray 700. Okay, and now let's style this button. Some styles that we're gonna apply will be conditional. So let's immediately use curly braces and backsticks and start styling. So for now, let's say that padding vertically will be 3. Horizontally, it will be 6. Okay, as you can see, now we have some overflowing, but we want to prevent that. So let's say that it will be flex wrap. Okay, let's say that font will be medium. Text will be small. And now we want to show which tab is active. For that, we can do the following. We can say active tab is equal to this index. If it is true, then we want to apply these styles. If it is not true, we want to apply these styles. So if active tab is equal to index, we want to say that border bottom will be 2. And if we hover over, you can see that border bottom width will be 2 pixels. Okay. And we want to say that border color will be indigo 500. Text will be indigo 400. And background color will be gray 800. And let's say that background opacity will be 50. So now I will save it. And now you can immediately say which tab is active. So let's click this dashboard and now it is active. Okay, but if active tab is not equal to this index, we want to apply the following styles. Let's say that text will be gray 400. On hover, we want text to be indigo 300, and on hover, we want background color to be gray 800, and on hover, we want background opacity to be 30, for example. So let's save it. And now on hover, you see this effect, but it isn't smooth. So let's add some duration. We can put it here. Let's say that duration will be 300. So let's save it. And now, as you can see, it is smooth. And also we can add cursor pointer. Okay. As you can see, now we show only content title, but we want to show both content title and content description. For that, we can create a separate function that will be responsible for that. And by default, as you can see, it is at 1, but let's change it back to be 0. Okay, so let's create a function called render content. And it will accept content. Okay, and here let's create a div. And let's say that we want to use h2 tag, and here we want to say content dot title, and let's create a p tag, and here we want to use content dot description. And now let's return this div. So let's say return and this div. Okay, so now using this function, we can replace this. And here we want to pass the following. We want to say tabs. We want to pass an active one. So let's say active tab dot content. And now here we pass the whole object, not only one property, but two properties. Then inside this render content function, we accept this content and we can get access to its title and description. So now I will save it. And by default, our active tab is equal to 0. And now we can see the content of the first tab. If I click dashboard, we see the content of dashboard and so on. Okay, so now let's add some styles to this div. Let's say that padding will be 6 and background color will be gray 800. Okay, let's say that it will be rounded. It will be rounded large, so it is 8 pixels. Let's add some shadow. Shadow will be large. And let's say that it will be margin 2. Margin top will be 2. Let's add some border. For now, let's save it and see what we have. Okay, let's change the border color to be gray 700. Now let's style this h2 tag. Let's say that text will be 2XL. Font will be semi-bold. Let's say that margin bottom will be 3 or 12 pixels. You can always hover over and see. So let's save it. Okay, and let's say the text will be indigo 300. Okay, and to this paragraph, let's apply the following styles. Let's just say that text will be gray 300. So let's save it. So now let's see what we have. So now if I click, as you can see, everything is working. But as you can see, we have some unwanted experience. You can see that we have some issue with borders. So let's find out why. So to get rid of that, we can say transition colors. So this duration is related to this transition colors, and if sometimes we do not define it, we can have that kind of unwanted experiences. So let's save it and try one more time. As you can see, now we no longer see that unwanted experience. Okay, now if I press tab, as you can see, we have this outline. To get rid of that outline, we can say the following. We can write focus outline will be none. So let's say focus outline will be none. So let's save it. And now if I press tab, nothing is happening. And our project is responsive, so let's see it in mobile screens. So as you can see, it is responsive. Okay, that's it guys. If you find this video at least a little helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it yet. Thank you.